What's tea?
Got Kind Lady up in here. We got Sakura as our coasters.
Alright guys, welcome to Dance Games Daily. I have another Friday episode. This episode's a little more special to me because it's less about the game and more about how this game is played around the world. Because, I mean, it's not just in the groove, it's not just DDR, but these games are played not just within the United States, but all around the world. And so when we kind of travel all over the place, you can actually connect with people that already play the game. It's like you already become friends with them, right?
And yeah, it's such a wild, game that's been able to have us connect with people that we never would have ever really thought we'd ever manage to connect with in random countries that we've been to. Even when it comes to like your own motherland, like I have a DDR machine back in India that I do regularly think back on, and Vincent has his whole Vietnamese community. It's absolutely insane to know that even in the present day, these are thoughts that are forever with us.
So wait a second, who are you? Why am I talking to you?
Hey everyone, so I'm Hiten Trivedi, or Hiten, primarily, as I'm known as. I've been in the community for quite some time, primarily from the East Coast, born and raised Connecticut. Went to school in Connecticut, lived in the New Jersey, New York area for a bit, moved out to Illinois for about a year, then made my way back over to the East Coast, and I've been in Boston for the last 2.5 years. And throughout that entire journey of playing dance games and everything, I came to meet Vincent. It's a pretty insane thing.
And then what do you do for hobbies? I know you do film photography. Film photography is a big one.
Yeah. So outside of dance games, which we'll definitely be getting into, one of my main hobbies is film photography. You can't really see them, but I have so many film cameras back there. I develop my own film. I'm all about that dumb hipster aesthetic. You can see with the turtleneck and the way I'm dressed right now. It's just how I live my life. In addition to that, I'm a professional in the biotech space, but I like to act more in my creative ends. More so. So despite going to school for engineering, I like to paint, I like to create, and yeah, so that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Yeah. I feel like on the topic of this video too, the reason that we're friends is through, you're one of my best friends now, but the reason that we're friends is also through both playing, 4-panel dance games and whatnot, but also just because you post on Instagram, you post on Facebook, you love storytelling, and you're very vocal about things that happen in your life, and I guess you just posted something that resonated with me, so I sent you a message.
So Vincent is the professional DM slider of the dance game community, and I mean that in the most wholesome way imaginable. So I'm a very candid person when it comes to my real life and my social media life. There isn't really a true distinction. Again, I like being able to put myself out there, and a lot of people do end up relating to me, and I do get a lot of messages, especially having my unique circumstances resonate with people. So Vincent, I forgot, what did he message me about? He added me on Facebook a bit ago because I've just been in the community. When you see someone with 100 mutuals, it's like, cool, add.
I think you had posted a Facebook story about missed hints when someone's talking to you.
Dating.
Yeah.
A lot of fun stuff, and yeah, Vince and I just kind of hit it off from there. And it was amazing because we first met in real life in September, Labor Day weekend.
2018? Yeah.
I was just about out of my way out of Illinois. I had just accepted a new job in Boston, and I was just in the process of kind of packing up my things. And Vincent decided, I think you usually spend Labor Day in Illinois, right?
That's your I wouldn't say deal? Usually, but I go to Illinois once a year.
Yeah, once a year. And yeah, he's like, hey, I'm in your neighborhood. Let's hang out. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, I have work, but we'll figure something out. So yeah, we met up, we got ramen, and it was just serendipitous how it all managed to all come together and work out.
But I mean, up to that point, we had only been communicating online for a year or two. Yeah.
Entirely. And we would connect over the same, Asian American actors and actresses, and, having those strong identity talks, beyond dance games. And that was our main, friendship. It's funny because, the deepest friendships I've found within any form of community, whether it be, within the biotech space or DDR or rhythm games or what have you, are the people you can talk to that the topics go beyond the game itself, or the actual thing that brought you together. Like, I think we talk about DDR, we talk about ITG, we talk about our stories tangentially related to the game, but a lot of our deepest and most personal conversations have come from just like forming an actual friendship out of it.
Yeah. So yeah, Dance Games was purely just the starting point to
It's the catalyst.
get us together. Yeah. As far as the origin of Dance Games Daily, I guess Hiten is actually connected with this as well, and I've brought this up on previous episodes as well. But we got a lot of inspiration from binging. We both play Super Smash Bros. Melee to some casual degree.
Yep.
But we got inspiration through watching content in that community, and we were digesting these videos for like a full hour before we realized that none of the videos that we were watching were even gameplay.
Exactly.
It was mostly like personalities, and like skits and stuff from like Beyond the Summit. And so I guess there's a content gap for dance games that many have tried, but it's hard to maintain some sort of like relative consistency in the modern day, because most of it is like streaming and like cutting VODs.
Yeah, which is nothing wrong with that. Of course, we always love to see the accomplishments of any given player, and we're always happy to share that on. But like, what we found the most entertaining about, like, again, I like playing Melee, but I like digesting Melee content. And what's cool about a lot of these skits is like, do they have to do with the game to a strong technical degree? Yeah, but then you also have like funny personalities, funny things that like anyone can really relate to. And I just think it's really cool that like there are other game communities that are so passionate and are so diverse in their talent pool to, even if you're not that great at the game, you love the game so much, you want to be able to put something out there in the world for everyone to appreciate. And I think that's where we were really motivated to push for a series like this.
Yeah.
And have it, be withstanding.
Yeah, and I think the Friday interviews is kind of the proudest part of this series for me, because those Friday interviews are really where you get to expose kind of prominent members in the community, but not just what they've done, but kind of what they're like and what it's like to talk to them.
Exactly,
and how they think.
People love it when you break the fourth wall. People really do.
Now that we know how Dance Games Daily started, let's actually get to the topic, which is, I guess, how did you get started with rhythm games? I ask every guest this.
Yeah, definitely. So this all dates back to 2005, the summer between 6th and 7th grade. So I came back from school. I'll give you like a cool, funny, anecdotal story about this. So I came back from school, and I saw my mom like praying. She does that for all of us to like get good grades, all that fun stuff. Cool, ethic mom stuff. And then I think it's like late May. So usually on the East Coast, schools end around late June. That's just typical how it works in the US, I guess. It's different everywhere else, but I came home and I see these 4 plane tickets just sitting on the altar. And I'm like, Mom, what's going on? And she's like, the family's going to India. And I'm like, what? You're like, yeah, I already called your school. You're going to be missing the last week. You're going to be missing the last day of school. And the last day of school means a lot to a kid.
What grade is this?
End of 6th grade.
Oh, that's a big deal. Is that going into middle school?
No. So first year of middle school is 5th grade.
Okay.
So I'm like, oh, fuck, what? Like, Mom. And I'm crying. I'm freaking out. I'm a little kid. And then, so we had to go to, like, my cousin's wedding. It was my first time going to India since 1998, and it was 2005 at the time. 7-year gap. By this time, I'm mainly playing like random Flash games online, N64, GameCube, like some fighting games here and there. I wasn't really quite into rhythm games. So we flew off to India for the summer. My cousins didn't really know how to entertain me, like being the little Indian American boy. Like, again, all I wanted to do was play Game Boy, be on the internet, on AIM, and chat with friends. So they brought me to arcades. And there's this one specific mall in Ahmedabad, Gujarat, India, where that's like my parents' home city, that had one DDR machine. And so they would take me to the arcade maybe 3 times a week. And so I'd walk into the mall, to the left was the entrance to the arcade. And the first machine that you would see was the DDR 3rd mixed Korean version. And I'm like, this game looks really cool, but I'm too embarrassed to try it. So I probably walked by that machine fully enamored by it at least 12 times, 20 times, whenever they brought me to the arcade. I stepped on it, I was about to play it, then I got really nervous and I ran away. But like, I feel like we all have that immediate like connection when I saw DDR, I knew it would be a big part of my life. But I was in the basement playing Third Strike with like the local little Indian boys, and I was like whooping all their asses in Third Strike. Yeah, so it all started back in 2005, and then when I came back to the States after that summer, I'm like, okay, I have a PS2. I want to buy DDR. So I think this is like tried and true for a lot of people. I started with Max 2 CS. And in fact, I keep a physical copy with me in my apartment at all times.
OG.
Yeah, OG. So again, I'm a very sentimental person, and having small things like these mean a lot to me. This is the first DDR game that I truly ended up playing after I came back from India. I got the PS2 soft pad, and I was immediately hooked. Yeah, we can leave that there. Immediately hooked. And I managed to... I don't know if it's the same for you, but I was like the catalyst into some of my friends starting to play DDR. So my friend got like that Supernova pad combo for PS2, and I remember I bring my dance pad in my backpack, and then in 7th grade, and then we'd walk over to his house after school to play DDR.
I've literally never done that.
Really?
I've never done that.
That's funny. Yeah, my backpack would have like all my books, my binders, and like my dance pad, my PS2 soft pad, folded up, or sometimes I'd bring it in like a side bag and like try to hide it to make sure no one saw it. It was kind of embarrassing, but yeah.
I think I have a more embarrassing story actually, which is that probably in the 3rd or 4th grade, it was the first time I got invited to like a girl's birthday party. Ooh. Yeah. But like DDR was kind of like a household game at this point, so it wasn't weird to bring up that you brought DDR or whatever. But I think at that point I actually did own like a metal pad.
Like the DDR game ones?
Yeah. So I may have been into DDR enough to transport this metal pad to said birthday party.
Yeah.
So
I also have a birthday party story.
That's okay. That's a little more extra than carrying a roll-up pad around a backpack. And
definitely.
Not the best context to bring it around.
That's true. But I think this is something that you can relate to. We always had like a more normie friends who played it for fun, but they grew out of it. And I think a lot of us in the community are ones in our friend circle who kept it going. So that's why we're here today. I'm sitting on my SMX 4th gen pad right here in my Boston apartment. Like, this game has not left me at all, by everyone means. I keep this, and sometimes I hold it at night, you know.
I think my story of getting into dance games might be similar to yours.
Really?
And now, because I never actually thought about this, but I do remember being really, really young visiting Vietnam, and we would go around to shopping malls, and I'd have a memory of walking past probably DDR Extreme.
Yeah.
Is what it was. Either DDR Max 2 or DDR Extreme. But I don't remember which one came first between seeing that in Vietnam or playing DDR Mario Mix.
Got it. I mean, so here's the thing. It's similar to me because I never ended up playing that machine in India. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised I remembered it was 3rd Mix Korean. And this was back when DDR Freak was still online. I double-checked DDRFreak.com machine locations. That machine was on DDR Freak. So some person in India put that machine on DDR Freak. And so it solidified the fact, like, yeah, this is a 3rd Mix DDR cab that I thought was so cool. But I didn't play it.
It must have been that I saw the machine in Vietnam first, because I remember also distinctly not playing it.
Yeah.
So it must have been I saw this in Vietnam, thought it was cool. I didn't get as far as you did. I never got on the stage.
Oh, I got on once.
Yeah, I just looked
once
from a distance and saw the people playing it, and that must have been, I go back home, and then I see the DDR, like Mario branded thing, and then because of those memories from Vietnam, I'm like, yes, I want this for my house. But yeah, also growing out of it, I distinctly remember, like friends moving on to playing like on the Xbox 360 and the PS3, and they're playing like
Halo.
So much Halo, which I never. Even to this day, the last console I've purchased is a Nintendo Wii. Even to this day, I never got a Switch or.
I got a PS4, but
yeah,
that was in 2016, so it's been almost 5 years.
But yeah, friends are like playing Halo 3. I'm like, I think I'm actually gonna pick up the next console mix for DDR, whatever that is, and then. It escalated into Stepmania, and then at that point it just blows up. Yeah. Far too much.
Exactly. So I was the guy bringing my laptop everywhere with my PS2 to USB Mayflash adapter and bringing my setup to parties. That was like later in 8th grade, but I remember. All right, so I think this is time for like a fun story because Vincent brought up a birthday party. So in 7th grade, I had a crush on this girl.
Ooh.
I had a crush on this girl, and I was invited to like one of the cooler kids' birthday parties, and we weren't like on the cooler end, but like I like this person. She wasn't like out of my league or anything. We're like the same level, like social ladder, if you will, on the same ring. So I remember this is back. So I started off Max 2, and then I basically made it my mission to kind of gather up every PS2 DDR game that I could, play everything I wanted to, and yeah, so I was playing DDR Supernova CS for the longest time, and I'm like, yo, if I can full combo Love Shine in front of this girl, I think she's gonna like me. That was my game plan, dude. I'm like, because everyone was so hyped, like, oh, Heaton's gonna bring 2 DDR pads and a PS2. We're gonna play DDR.
Let's go!
And so I practiced Love Shine for like 2 hours every day. I mean, I kept full combo. I just want to make sure that I could, like,
on the spot.
I was fucking ready. Like, and that was back when I didn't really care too much about timing or anything. I was just playing, like, on the CRT in my parents' living room. My mom would yell at me, tell me to study, but, like, she didn't know. I was a man on a mission. She'll never understand, but it's okay. But, yeah, so we went to the party. We had a lot of fun. I full combo Love Shine. Nothing changed. But, like, what I ultimately learned was, like, we were just playing DDR and having a good time, and that was enough.
Yeah.
For us to have a good time. So it's, like, that little kid mentality. So, moving forward from there, again, I think it just all started with Stepmania. I would play so much Stepmania. If I was happy, I'd play Stepmania. If I was sad, I'd play Stepmania. If I didn't want to study, I'd just play Stepmania. And this was, like, the beginning of, like, Bamani style, like, getting into my life, downloading one-off charts for songs that I enjoyed, and all that fun stuff. So, yeah, I just play a lot of Stepmania, and all throughout high school, I met one other kid who played Stepmania. And I'm like, oh, cool. And then we ended up bonding because we played Stepmania. And I was known as, like, the DDR kid. Whenever there was, like, a DDR setup at school or someone's house, like, oh, Heaton played DDR. And I'm like, oh, okay, sure. So I feel like you were known as, like, a DDR kid, too, right?
I was the DDR kid.
You are the DDR kid. The premier DDR kid of Nebraska.
At some point for our gym program in elementary school, there was kind of like a variety games. Like,
I had that in high school. It was DDR Max CS, and everyone played Sandstorm.
Yeah, it was like the setup was like shuffleboard and ping pong and horseshoe. It was like a bunch of random stuff, and then one year they added DDR. And I remember the gym teacher coming into one of my math classes and saying, "Hey, can we pull Vincent for a second?" So I would step out of my class, like,
That's amazing.
as advised by a teacher,
to
walk over to the gym to demonstrate playing DDR. And I think I just played, like, what is it? My Only Shining Star Expert.
My only shining star.
Yeah, I just played, like,
all your dreams come true.
I just played something easy because I thought that was a banger, and it's probably still is a banger.
It still is a banger.
Yeah. I would demonstrate that, and then the kids would be like, "Oh,
let's go!"
Yeah, and then I would leave and go back to math class.
That's amazing.
Once you got your footing in the community and you were involved more, what were the primary regions or, like, communities that you found yourself a part of?
So Connecticut. So I'm born and raised in central Connecticut. So I started playing again when I had a driver's license. I didn't really touch machines too often. I was just playing at home every so often. I lived in a small apartment. I would shake things up when I played, so I just mainly stuck to Stepmania. When I got my driver's license, there was the local DDR Extreme machine. So me and my friends would go to Nomad's Adventure Quest in South Windsor, Connecticut. We drive over, like, however many people we can get together, and I would just try to play DDR. And then through playing DDR there, I just meet the locals who came exclusively to play DDR Extreme. And that ended up becoming a Facebook group after, like, my freshman year of college. So I met this guy named Pat, who I'm still close with to this very day. One of my closest DDR friends, Steven Phillips. And yeah, I made this Facebook group called CT Rhythm. And it was like, hey, anyone in the community, we can say, hey, I'm going to go to Nomads tonight. I'm going to go for my first PFC on Freckles. Like, like the first time we were, like, trying to build a community.
Hey guys, these are pre-Discord days.
Oh, pre-Discord days, Yeah, so it took off, and we just were able to get huge gatherings at the local arcade, and that eventually ended up turning into private machine ownership. as it usually tends
Yeah.
to. You know, you find your friends, you throw your money together, or one friend saved up money, and
But also, I think at this point, public arcades were more on the way out.
they were definitely
Right.
on the way out.
So, having private machines was kind of the only way to have machines playable and in a decent quality, because otherwise,
Exactly.
other arcades were just closing.
Oh yeah, the machine was crapping out every week, but like that was our only source, like to play DDR on an actual machine. Yeah, so that grew into one of my close friends getting a Dedicab, and now he has other machines in his house. And I was just there the other week playing. Like, it's wild to think, like, 10 years after, almost 10 years after, like, I'm still with these same people playing these games. And so I went to the University of Connecticut, in Storrs, Connecticut. We had one upgrade cab out there. And I did play on it a fair bit. It was R21 stock, nothing done to it. No one has ever 99'd a song on that machine. That's how bad the pads are. And we weren't allowed to mod them or do anything. You know, it was a machine owned by like an arcade company and technically being rented out to the university in their game room.
So they can't touch it.
Yeah, they can't touch it. They wouldn't trust some random undergrad kids. We were trying to flex our engineering degrees, like engineers to be, but it wasn't turning into anything. But it did provide me immediate access, like a 5-minute walk to play a dance game.
Something, yeah.
And that's where I really grew to love originals. Like IGG originals, it was all I had. And yeah, I mean, I had my USB. I'd play like my whatever random ass Sims, DDR songs, anime songs, like
Mandodo,
a lot of Mandodo. Like, but you can only play so much on like crap pads. But yeah, I played a lot of officials. What would you say your favorite official is?
Oh, I'm not gonna.
No.
I started playing ITG kind of well after the lawsuit
Even
had settled.
after the fact.
So I mean, I was mostly playing customs.
Yeah.
So I mean, like the iconic ones that pop up in my head are like, I don't know, like Bumblebee and Blood Rush. I love Blood Rush dancing.
Blood Rush is Flying High means a lot to me.
I like
Flying High a lot.
not
As a
just,
song in a chart.
there's one in particular I'm trying to think of. Do You Love Me?
Say that you love me. Yeah, I played a lot of that actually. That song was a banger.
Yeah, those 30 seconds are something.
There was something, and it was a concept I didn't understand when I was 18 at all. When I was trying to play it on like one, a shitty machine, two, only having like the threshold of playing random Dragon 4 songs, Statmania, and just playing DDR. Yeah. So after that, I went to college. Junior and senior year, I had a car on campus, so I drive to my friend's house almost every Friday. We'd play ITG, DDR, what have you. And then one of the biggest entryways into the whole community was my sophomore year of college. My family had moved to New Jersey from Connecticut. And I was starving for dance games when I went home for spring break or winter break. I'm like, I don't know, like, oh, dude, I'm so far from you guys now. I can't go to Nomads. I can't play Extreme with you guys. So I Googled around. I discovered 8 on the Break in Dunellen, New Jersey. My parents only lived...
Iconic.
Back with very iconic. One of the most iconic arcades in the entire United States, if not the world, at this point. So I went there. It was like a 20-minute drive. Not even that bad, especially with like shitty New Jersey traffic. So I ended up playing ITG there. I was so hyped. I'm like, what is this? Like, oh my god, the machine's actually hacked, man. Oh, they have like all these customs and so it was like, you know, finally being able to play on like a machine that like I could play on, like with more content, and there are actual people there like playing other games and other rhythm games that I've only touched upon but never really played.
It's not just the content of the machine, but it's that you're now playing in an area where not only did the arcade owner approve it, but that you had people in the community that were contributing to it.
Exactly.
So it's not just the content alone, but it's that you know that the people around you are all wanting this and a part of that.
Exactly. Yeah, and it was cool because like I was able to touch other Bomani games I've only watched YouTube videos on, like Beat Mania 2DX, Pop and Music.
You never played 2DX up to this point.
No, never. I just never had the access.
Yeah.
Like I had no money.
Mm-hmm.
Two, actually, I did see one Double Dow at some Yukon event. It was crazy. It scared me. I didn't know what it was, and then I later learned what it was after. Like, and it's wild to know that someone had a Double Dow in Connecticut. But yeah, I just had no idea.
Yeah.
And it was super cool for me to like get into that, and I was able to meet some of my closest friends to date through that. Simon Lee, Scott Calgaston, like And that led into me forming into the New Jersey, New York City community. And it all kind of became history from there. I started traveling out to events. I started having more of a social outreach in Facebook, Instagram, all that fun stuff. And yeah, so then lived there for a couple of years, then moved out to Illinois. I was able to meet like a handful of people out there. Like
Chicago is a really strong community.
Yeah, Chicago's super strong.
It always has had one.
And I worked my ass off at a biotech startup out there, but I would always find the time to go to Stafford Square Mall. Rest in peace, that round one. That was the most iconic place for me in Illinois because that was my escape from my day to day. I was able to play DDR. I met a lot of great people, ATB, Twans, like people who kind of helped foster me and push me, despite me being physically exhausted and dying from my job. But yeah, it was super cool. And then I moved back to the East Coast, and I kind of know people around here. I've been going to conventions for the longest time on the East Coast. I'd always play on the DDR machine. I see these people at random events in warehouses, DDR raves, again, conventions, like small community events, the local arcade. Yeah, so just through social media and everything put together, it all kind of clicked.
Yeah. I didn't know Hiten the Break was introduced in your life kind of so late.
2012, 2013-ish?
Yeah, because, I mean, I had actually seen 2DX. So, Omaha, Nebraska had a huge arcade called the Family Fun Center.
Ooh.
Which is actually known, I don't know if around the country, but definitely around the region.
Yeah.
Like, I know, like, Evil Days played there. I know, Faker 13, who's Texas now, knows about Family Fun Center. So that was actually, they had a lot. They had Keyboard Mania, Drum Mania, like ITG2 Upgrade, DDR Extreme for sure, and as well as DDR Max.
Yeah.
Like, this arcade was loaded, but it was unfortunate because when I was interested, I was too young to just show up to these arcades. I didn't know about tournaments at the time, so it's not like I was attending those either.
Yeah.
And not that my parents would let me because I'm so young. By the time I'm actually fully invested into playing these games, like that arcade,
they're gone.
They relocated to a place called Family and Fun Center XL.
Yeah.
Which was just awful. And then like the machines weren't maintained, and the hype was gone because it used to be like the old location was like in the heart of Omaha, Nebraska.
Yeah.
And now it's just kind of like
a little bit out there,
somewhere out west in like Ralston or whatever. So people stopped going, and then the community kind of fizzled out a little bit. So
yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
So that reminds me. So I kind of get it. So TGA was like the biggest thing in the Northeast back in the Tokyo Game Action, like the mecca for rhythm games, Japanese rhythm games, just arcade games in general that we're all into nowadays. But again, I was way too young to really be a part of it. But me and my friends, we drive up to Game Underground just to get like a different scene of DDR.
Still haven't gone there.
They've switched locations like 3 or 4 times. I mean, and again, with unfortunately COVID right now, we'll go next time, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll make it work.
You'll see. But I wish I can bring you to like the OG Game Underground days where you actually had to walk underneath. It was like
it was underground.
It was actually a basement, a base garden level, like my apartment, garden level arcade, and it was really cool. And they also posted a bunch of Melee stuff, but that's a quick aside. But yeah, that's pretty much it to the modern day, going out to events, and I think we'll kind of backtrack a little to after I graduated, since the whole focus of this episode is talking about our international experience. So now you have like an idea of how rhythm games were introduced into our lives. We kind of want to showcase how they've really propelled us into expanding our worldwide view.
Yeah, so how did we go from playing this game domestically to playing this game internationally? What was your story? How did that happen?
Okay.
I guess something like common for all of us is that, like I primarily play I2G, but we both started on DDR, and that game has a lot of presence in Japan. Particularly if you look up YouTube content, it's always like DDR level Asian.
Yeah,
and
there's that, and we were all watching BROSONI's videos, Ringo's videos.
And if you go back in the day to AIJ stuff, it's we're watching Yasu, we're watching Take.
Yeah, we all download those videos on AIJ.
We all rotated our monitor 90 degrees.
my mom was always so pissed when my parents were like, I had all these DDR videos and like these like Yasu pics on like my desktop, saved to my desktop, and my dad's like, what is this? I'm like, Dad, you don't understand. Like, your AAA Max 300. And like I say that like it sounds like a joke, but I was like verbatim. I think I said that to my dad.
I'm pretty sure there are videos of Yasu like eating McDonald's. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
this is the guy that
any content.
It's like, this is the guy that AAA Max 300. He's eating McDonald's. We're watching him eat McDonald's.
Yeah, exactly. It was so cool. Yeah, so clearly, obviously, we all know DDR started in Japan.
Yeah.
So it's always been like, you know, any dance game player's dream, or anyone who played video games or like anime, Final Fantasy, Nintendo, Sony, like Japan was the place to go. Mm-hmm. So in 2015, I had been connected with like some people in the Japanese dancing community, like expats who lived out there. So 2015, I graduated undergrad, and my roommate in college for my senior year is half Japanese, half Brazilian from Tokyo. So throughout like the last month of college, I'm like, yo, like, can I just live with you, like in Japan for like the summer of 2015? Because we already had been living together at the time. We had a really good friendship, and I couldn't think about any other opportunity where I can kind of capitalize on, you know, living in Tokyo, being able to live a life before I started working a job
after university.
Yeah, right? Especially like that's a very pivotal point in a lot of people's lives where I had committed to not going for a master's, not going to med school. I just wanted to work in industry. I wanted to focus on building myself up in society, because as much as I do love the science and tech that I work in now, like I see my like as like I throw it back to earlier in the video, like I'm a creative person at heart, and I see myself doing my job as my job, and I do love it, but I wanted more out of my life, and I want to further express myself. So I put a halt on further education beyond my bachelor's. And yeah, so I lived in Japan from end of May to end of July 2015. And from there, so that summer was actually quite wild. So that was the summer the first ITG... Oh, no, there was not... No, the Dedicat came later. So there was an ITG upgrade in Tokyo that people were playing on at an arcade called WGC.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
In their OG spot in near Komagome Station. They have now since moved like an hour and a half out of Tokyo, which is great that they're still alive and thriving. But like, this was like a wild time. So I was friends with this guy named Kevin. And he's like, hey man, you know, I'm from New York. It'd be nice to connect with you since you're here. And like we were having like this discourse over Facebook. And I was hanging out in Shinjuku with one of my friends, one of my other expat friends who came up from the Inaka, like the countryside, to come hang out in the city. And I get a message from Kevin, and Kevin's like, yo, BROSONI's in Tokyo right now at WGC. He's playing ITG. Do you want to meet him? And I'm like, yeah, I do. Well, I've been watching his videos since I was like, what? I'm like freaking out. I'm starstruck, you know.
Yeah.
All of us want to meet BROSONI. He just seems like such a cool, awesome, amazing DDR player. So I met BROSONI for the first time at WGC, and then my Japanese is like lackluster. I don't really speak much of it, but we're just like, you know, you communicate through body language, you communicate through the shared love of the game. So yeah, I obviously took a nice photo with him, and I was super hyped and like showed it off to all my friends. And what was funny is like the friend I was with, she's aware of DDR, but she had no idea of the gravity of how much this man has influenced a lot of us on a global scale. I'm like, hey Genevieve, you're at the point in time of this in 2015, you're meeting Japan's premier dance game player. Like, he is top of the line right now, and it's just like such a crazy thing. And she spoke fluent Japanese, so they were having like a cool conversation. Yeah, so I ended up bonding with him, and I told him and that like, yo, I'm gonna be like in Osaka in like 2 weeks. So he's like, yeah, dude, come hang out. I'll take you around. So we exchanged line IDs, and yeah, we met up in Osaka later. But in that immediate time, I popped a set of ITG with him. Yeah, we started off with Tribal Style.
Okay, classic.
I picked Tribal Style just for like a nice little 10 warm up, you know, get the feet warm. Then we played Zusa, 11. And then the Japanese community at the time, they like to play a lot of their customs on USBs. And this is just an upgrade cab, by the way.
Yeah. On
like a stock theme with like very awkwardly specific C-mods. Well, I digress. And then we played some random Japanese J-poppy song that was like kind of long, like a 12. like Stamina-y. And I'm like, my first time playing dance games with BROSONI in Japan was a set of ITG. And I'm like, yo, this is sick.
Yeah.
It was awesome. But yeah, that was quite early on in my stay in Japan. But my mainstay location was the Taito Station in Shibuya. Almost every day, because I was like a bum in Japan. I didn't work. I barely had money. I just wanted to have the most fun in my life. So almost every day, I'd go to Taito Station in Shibuya in the morning. I'd play DDR until whenever. Like, that was my machine. Like,
Your machine.
No one really touched it. I mean, my machine as in, like, the machine that, like, has the most sentimental value to me. Like, the machine in Tokyo that, like, means a lot to me. I know people love, like, Akihabara and stuff like that, but I also love those locations. But Shibuya was, like, the closest to me. It was, like, 20 minutes through train from the suburbs of Tokyo into the city proper. So, yeah, I play a lot of DDR in Shibuya. Yeah, in 2015, yeah, that was pretty... I play a lot in Shibuya. And then I eventually went down to Osaka. And I met BROSONI and Shizuka for the first time. Shizuka and I were already, like, talking through Facebook, and she was excited to have another foreign dance game player be in the motherland. So they took me all around Osaka, and it was super dope. We hung out at round 1, we got dinner, and they took me down to downtown Namba. We took photos, and it was just such an exciting time. I was 21 and a half, like, my mind was blown. I just couldn't believe what was happening. It was a dream come true, being able to connect on the international scale. Yeah, so hung out there. Then I went back to Nagoya like a couple weeks after. Hung out with like Shizuka again. Met with other like local DDR players. And then after that, yeah, BROSONI also drove up and drove us around in Nagoya. That was sick. And it was like, play DDR, eat good food. Play DDR, eat good food. You can't go wrong.
Dude, that's the life to live.
That's literally the life to live. Yeah, so I did like a lot of traveling out there. And yeah, then I came back to Tokyo. And I reconnected with 2 people I knew in undergrad. They were foreign exchange students. So, Mizuki and Saori. And there's a really funny photo of them that'll probably pop up right here. Right here.
There, yeah.
There. So, they also kind of knew me as, like, the DDR guy. But they never saw any videos or anything. So, we planned on one specific day to hang out, like, the week before I left. And they're like, alright, let's meet in Shimokitazawa. You know, there's a dope vegetarian ramen place here. You know, we know you're vegetarian. Like, let's treat you right. So I meet up with these 2 girls. We're hanging out, and they're like, okay, I think I know a game center nearby. So we go to one game center, no DDR. Another one, no DDR. Third one, we find DDR. And it's like this... It's one of the most, like, aesthetically, like, pleasing, like, red cabs out there. They're, like, banners all over the sides, and, like, it's so funny. And I'm like playing like a set of like I forgot what I opened up with, but my last song was Windy Fairy the 15. Cause I just wanted to like show them like hey, you know, like these songs do get a bit harder. So I was popping off on Windy Fairy, and I was like just having time of my life, and they're like taking videos and selfies and stuff like that. And then so one of the arcade workers actually came up to me, and he was so excited to have like a foreigner, I guess, in the arcade. And he had me do one of those like roll, what do you even call it? Like lotto roll it? I like rolled the thing until like a ball falls out.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what it's called. But I got the golden ball, and I won a loop in the third towel, so that was kind of cool. Yeah, that was pretty sick. And then I flew back home like a week after, and it was insane. It was insane. And I've also, since then, I've been back to Japan 6 more times. 7 in total. And a lot of stories.
Wait, that was your first time in 2015?
First time.
And you've gone back 6 or 7 times?
7 total.
In the span of 5 years. These are more than annual.
I know. So 2015, 2016. 2016, I was just there for a week. I didn't meet with any DDR people. I just hung out with my friend who was chilling there at the time. Again, I played DDR in Shibuya, but wasn't like too crazy. 2017, I was doing the main trip around Asia, and I will get a lot into that. That's when I really got deep into like the international communities. But yeah, and then that was like a week, so I mainly just played at the local places, nothing crazy. 2018, a handful of my friends were in Japan at the time. I was there for cherry blossom season, so I met up with a lot of like my local Bamani friends who are expats. One of my other really good friends from New Jersey was there. We would play a lot in Shinjuku, in Akihabara. We'd meet up almost every day and play at Toda Tower or Leisure Tower. What I forgot the name. Amusement Tower.
Tower.
They've changed the name so many times. That and Leisureland too. So we just meet up and hang out and play DDR wherever we could. We just like do a whole DDR day trip. And then 2019, I went for KAC, and that was dope. And again, we all thought the gold cab was so gaudy, but also so fucking cool. And now we know the truth of them, but I still think they look really cool. You know, it was like such a monumental sight for not only me, but like there was a huge amount of people from all around the world who came for KAC, and being able to hang out with a handful of them, reconnect with a lot of them was super dope, especially abroad. Funny story about that too. So I was walking around Akihabara with one of my Asian American friends, and she was teaching in Japan at the time. And I was walking to show her amusement tower. What? I'm like,
is it Eternal Amusement?
Eternal Tower.
Tower.
We'll call it Eternal Tower. And I was going to show her like, hey, you know, like there's a whole bunch of like U.S. dance game players here. Like, I know you don't really play, but let me give you like an insight into like what I'm really here for. And she's like, okay. So she like sees all these people grinding out on all these machines, and then when we're walking back to the station from the arcade, and then Steve Foster comes up out of a restaurant, grabs me, and takes me. I'm like, what the? He spots me for like 1 second passing by the door of a restaurant, and he runs out. Steve Foster runs out, and he's eating dinner with like Spencer, Chris Chaik, Mark Grady, and a bunch of other like expats, and I'm like, hey, what's up, guys?
To be fair, in the context of Japan, you and Steve Foster both are very you guys are very identifiable men in Japan.
Of course I stuck out like a sore thumb, but for him to be looking out at the door at that specific time, maybe he was walking back from the bathroom or whatever, but it was insane, and it made me look so popular.
I mean, those experiences are what we live for.
Exactly. So yeah, so that was really cool. And then I had like one quick trip in 2020 for like personal reasons, but again, it wasn't really dance game motivated. But in 2018, I did go back to Osaka, and I was able to see BROSONI and Shizuka for the first time in a while, and they had just gotten engaged. Like that awesome, sweet little engagement thing happened like a month or two prior, which is really sweet. So it was like really great timing, being able to reconnect. My Japanese was a bit better. I wasn't like fervently studying it, but like it just kind of came more naturally to me with growing more confidence as a person, maybe. But yeah, it was awesome to like reconnect and have like those memories like 3 years after, and still have as much fun as we did. Played at the local round 1. Didn't really travel too far. I got my shit rocked by a dude in Crocs. But it happens, and that's what Japan's all about.
Were they Crocs or just those water shoes with the holes in
Crocs?
them?
Crocs.
Okay. You knew they were Crocs?
Yeah,
like
I mean
Crocs proper?
I don't know if they're branded Crocs, but they're Crocs.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not the water shoes.
Okay.
But yeah, do you have any immediate thoughts? I think I'm going to close out the Japan chapter for now, if you have anything you want to say to that.
No, I'm curious about the next chapter.
Oh, yeah. So, let's see here. I think I'll start out with Singapore, because I like, outside of Japan was really fun, because I had those immediate connections, but you don't really become friends with people at the arcade. You switch off your set, you go on your phone, and language barrier, etc., part ways. So Singapore was like an entirely different story, and I'm really excited to tell this story because Vincent also has a lot he can weigh in on this situation and this whole, international journey. So in 2017, I took a month off of work, like a leave, like an unpaid absence. We had our lab, we had lab stuff, we had not issues with our lab, but we weren't able to perform any experiments. So our managers were like, hey, if you want to take vacation now, or if you need to leave for an extended period of time,
now's the best time to do it.
Now's the best time to do it. So this was from mid-September into October. So I'm like mid-October. I'm like, yo, fuck it. I'm going around Asia. I got money. I want to see a lot of my friends. I want to, see where dance games can take me in addition to that. in addition to reconnecting with individuals. So again, started off in Korea, landed Japan, Malaysia, Singapore, and Thailand. So
was there specific reasons for picking each of those countries?
I had connections in Korea, Japan, Thailand, Singapore, and Malaysia. In Singapore, I fully relied on the internet.
Yes.
But here's the thing. Singapore wasn't one of my main concerns because English is the national language. So getting around Singapore, and I've done a lot of solo traveling in countries where I don't even speak the language. So I wasn't too afraid. And I knew there was a DDR presence. Mm-hmm. Even if I couldn't find the people, I can find the game.
Yeah.
And I can just...
With the game comes the people.
With the game comes the people, exactly. Yeah. So I was able to... so before I flew into Singapore, I did the classic Facebook search, Singapore DDR.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, there's a Facebook group out there. Is it too active? No, not really.
Well, I just mean, you ended up in Singapore. You said you had a connection in Malaysia?
Yeah.
And then, so, I mean, Singapore is just like a stone's throw away.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's why I wanted to make it a collective journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Show my talent.
You end up in Singapore, and then, Singapore DDR.
Yeah. No, I'm not even in Singapore. I'd maybe a week before I flew out. Yeah. I'm like, all right, maybe I should try looking for people. So I posted in there. I'm like, hey, I'm an American dude, rolling by, love DDR, love ITG, would love to connect with the local community if there are people. And there was a pretty warm reception of individuals, of people who added me immediately, messaged me, and were like, hey, when you're in the area, let me know. I'll come hang out. We'll play DDR. And yeah, one of those people is Alson Lee. We love Alson, by the way. And Alson will show up time and time again in this talk.
Hashtag
Alson Fan Club. Yeah, Alson is amazing. He was such a sweet boy. We're the same age. I keep calling him a sweet boy. We're literally the same age. We're in our late 20s now.
He is.
Yeah, I know, right? He's so sweet. So sweet. But, yeah, so he kind of gave me the rundown of the state of affairs of dance games in Singapore. There are two, at the time in 2017, there are two main arcades. One had, you had to pay extra for premium, and one you didn't. So we went to the one that didn't. So that's Bugis, which is like a big mall that had a big arcade. Mm-hmm. Called Virtual Land, which is a chain of arcades in Singapore. So there's that, and Saragoon next. So we played at Bugis. He was going to meet me one day, so I decided to check out the machine before we met, just see how I felt about it. And it was a pretty good machine. They had locals who took care of the pads. There are local players who are quite proficient at the game. Like me and Alson he was a little better than me. Like we're both on the end of tripling 16s. But he was a lot more consistent with his timing. But yeah, and he was able to invite pretty much everyone he knew. So there was him, Singaporean Malay guy named Afandi. There's this Singaporean Chinese guy named Michael or whatever. Old guy, but he's known to be the old man DDR player who plays doubles in a white dress shirt, dress pants, and socks. That's what he does. He's the look that it's so cool. It's so cool to
big
see
dad
that.
energy.
Big dad energy.
Big uncle energy.
Big uncle, yeah. There were big uncle energy. He really has big uncle energy. Another guy named Steven who's quite proficient at the game, and a local French expat named Sebastian. It was such an interesting... And Ray. Don't forget Ray.
Yes.
So Ray was a Singaporean Chinese KAC finalist in 2012? Yeah, so he was able to represent Southeast Asia at KAC, which is really dope. So he just kind of managed to bring this community around me, and we just had so much fun kicking it on DDR. Of course, I traveled around Singapore, looked at all the touristy stuff.
Yeah.
No, DDR is not the main reason I went to Singapore. A lot of identity stuff, of course, with the Indian population and trying to see where I fit into the world, all that narrative, but we're not here to talk about that. But it was really sweet of Alson, and honestly, the best time is you get a solid dance game session in, you're having a good time, pushing off sets, and then you go out for an awesome meal. And you can never go wrong eating out in Southeast Asia. We went to the local hawker center, we just ordered a mess of Indian food, a mess of Chinese food, all the various different stalls.
The restaurant density in Singapore is actually overwhelming. I've been to New York City several times, and it's even more dense than that.
Yeah, Southeast Asia knows how to do it. So a hawker center, for those who don't know, are pretty much just outdoor food courts, and they're all across Singapore. So you have like your indoor mall food, which is also really good. But like the draw of the hawker center are in Malay. They're known as like mamaks, which is like a bit of a different sort of deal, but the same deal. But hawker centers are a lot more organized. Yeah, it's just like outdoor food court. Grab whatever you want. Like not grab it. Go whatever stall you want. Come back to your table. Fighting for a table is always a big deal. Yeah, so it's a really, really fun time being able to play something that's so close to my heart in a new environment and learn new things along the way. So that was super cool. So that same year in 2017, I was also in South Korea. This one is actually really cool in the way where... So I already had known where this DDR machine was in South Korea. There was only like a handful of them in the Seoul proper area that were like worthwhile for me to go to. So this DDR machine was located in Sinchon, which is Hongdae, which is like the nightclub, party, college area, like really poppin'.
Yeah.
So I was already pretty familiar because my local friends took me all around there. So I was hanging out with my friend Susie. I knew her from undergrad. She's Korean American. And we spent like the whole day hanging around Seoul and walking around like the Han River, went on a picnic, all that fun stuff. And then towards the night, we just went back to Hongdae just to chill. Because it was a neighborhood that like I can take charge of. Like, I've been walking around here for the last week. I know where the arcades are, stuff like that. If she wanted to do like a gun game or whatever, so we went to the arcade. We played like some probably like time crisis equivalent or whatever. And then we went to the DDR machine, and I saw someone playing DDR. So before this, I didn't see anyone playing DDR in Korea. Everyone was either casually playing Pump, and the DDR machine would be empty. But this guy was Rattery. Like, he's one of the premier Korean dance game players that Echo Spears on Twitter. I recognize his handle. He was popping off on like 17s. And I'm like, yo, holy shit. And I was intimidated. I'm like, again, it's that starstruck moment where I've seen this guy's Twitter. I've seen this guy on YouTube, you know, like now he's in the flesh. And I don't speak Korean. So I was with my friend Susie, who speaks 100% fluent Korean. And she's like, I'm going to make him play with you.
She's
aggressive.
Of course.
She's very aggressive.
That's like she wanted this for you.
Yeah, she wanted this for me and for herself.
And for herself.
Yeah, it's like that situation where like, oh, Heaton's good at DDR, blah blah, but like, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Like, you get it.
She wants to see it happen as much as you do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I want to see that, and then she goes up and speaks to him in Korean, and I'm like, yo, I know you. Yeah, do you want to hang out? You want to play DDR? And then, we just pop off on a set. We play a set of 14s, and it was just so fun to like really try hard against a brand new player. So we played Aludaria, Near Gravity. What was the third? Romancing Lair, which is now a 14, 15 at the time. And then we finished off Extra Stage with Synergy for Angels. And it was just such a fun time. Like, I had been running around all day. I was tired of shit. My legs were tired. Again, we spent from like 9 in the morning to like, this was like 10 p.m. at this time. Just running around, and I'm playing a nice warm-up set of 14s. And it all comes together. It's serendipitous. It's like, this was meant to happen. Yeah, and then, so what was funny is like maybe like 20 minutes after we left the arcade, I got 2 messages. I got like a Twitter screenshot of his tweet. He took a photo of our EMU's names together.
I love those matching screens.
Those screens and the set of our scores. And can I see the picture?
Yeah, let's pull it up.
Yeah, let's pull it up. Yeah, so he wrote this tweet about me. Again, I can't read Korean, but with the Bing translation, we got DDR user and foreigners meet for credit. It was just super cool. And I got a screenshot of this from my friend Zhao in New York, and she's like, what's up with your international DDR adventures? Like, are you getting Twitter famous? I'm like, no, not really. Like, I did not know. I wasn't active on Twitter, especially at the time. I didn't even have the app installed. I had the account, but I didn't really use it. Yeah, so it was super cool to like... And then I had my other friend who was also on Twitter to like make mention like, hey, that's you, right? That can't be anyone else. Who else is Hiten?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was super cool. And then I later had a conversation with Steve Foster, maybe years after, saying he also saw the tweet.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was super cool.
Dude, all this started because you were just like a scared little Indian boy, like way back in the day.
Yeah.
Not even playing a set, and here we are.
Here we are, right? I'm hanging out with some of the best, and I was trying to find FFMs. I was like searching. Again, I went to like all the localish DDR machines in the Seoul area. Again, I don't even know where the guy's from, and I was like, because that was when like all his YouTube videos were popping off. It'd be super cool to meet him. Never met him. Perfectly fine with it. I'll take this meeting with Prairie. It was super sick, being able to have this sort of engagement. And then a couple days after, I was walking around the same area. There's this one arcade in Seoul where it's like on the second or third floor, and they're like 3 or 4 pump cabinets in a row. So you can see, like, and it's like a clear glass window, so you can see people playing pump like late at night. So when I was out clubbing, I actually snuck in a set of pump at 4 in the morning. My friends were trash as shit. We're waiting for the first train in the morning.
24-hour arcades?
Yeah. All night arcade. I don't know if it's 24 hours. I'm sure they close during the day and open up at like noon or whatever.
Yeah.
So it was so funny. So I don't drink, but I still went out clubbing, had fun with my friends from undergrad living in Seoul, all throughout Korea. We all congregated and hung out. 4 a.m. waiting for the last train. They're just chit-chatting, hanging out with some other people. They're preoccupied. I'm like, yo, I really want to like play dance games right now. Yo, I'm like, and I'm and like within like 1 or 2 blocks away, I see people playing pump. I'm like, yo, I want to play pump.
That needs to be me.
Yeah,
I need this.
I need it. So I pop a set of pump at 4 in the morning. My heart's racing, and I was so happy. It was so sick. But yeah, then like a few days after, I went back to like that area just to hang out with my friend, and then he had to go home. So I'm like, okay, let's play a little dance games. I'll go back and eat some food. Then my time in Korea is about to get cut short because I have to go back home to New York. Yeah, so I snuck in one last set of DDR, and I'm like, okay, I'll play a little pump. Why not? No one looked at me when I played DDR. Like, none of the locals cared. I play Me Gustas 2 on pump.
Oh, I missed that song.
One, I turn on full mode. Everyone's like, what the fuck? This guy knows how to turn on full mode? I like double S Me Gustas 2, and I have a crowd of like 7 Korean women.
Let's go!
Yeah, like college-age Korean women all around me. And I'm like, oh, and they're like saying, oh, good job. I'm like, oh, thank you. It was cool. It was super cool to like have that, because like the typical situation back in the day at the local arcade was like the random soccer mom or whatever, like arcade patrons. Well, nowadays it's drunk Dave & Buster's people and drunk Round 1 people, but it's more wholesome back in the day with that sort of deal. Yeah, it was really cool to like have that experience.
I think that holds up even now, because I don't know any Korean DDR players at the top of my head other than like FFMs, but FFMs also plays Pump.
Yeah.
So like the primary people I know, like in terms of big names, are definitely Sound Voltex players, and then Pump players.
Yeah, I mean, Pump is just a more familiar game.
Yeah.
To them. In society. In K-pop, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's Korea. So I covered Japan, Singapore. Oh yeah, then there's Singapore round 2. So I went back to Singapore in 2018, which was really awesome because I just took like a couple weeks off of work. I wanted to reconnect with my friend in Malaysia and Singapore, so cheaper to fly to Singapore, a lot more accessible.
Was 2018 when you still had like a really whack work schedule?
Yeah. And I actually interviewed for the job I currently have in Singapore during that trip. Wild times.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had a really whack work schedule, which we won't get into. But I was able to take some time off, like well-deserved time off, and I kicked it back in Singapore, and I was able to hang out with the same crew. Just shy of a year after, and it was super awesome how I was able to just like reconnect like it was nothing. And there's all this hype built out around me like re-entering the country. So there's one kid in Singapore who I met who loved Stepmania and ITG and not really DDR so much, and he was aware of this one upgrade cab in Singapore, and it was all the way out west, like through train. I think we rode like almost 40 to an hour,
which isn't there anymore.
By the way, it's not there anymore, so sorry to break the news, but the pads were actually pretty good. I was tri-starring everything just for a machine that gets next to near zero maintenance. I mean, yeah, it doesn't get a lot of play. Yeah, and it was running the ITG3 theme, and it had like the classics. It had Valak stuff. It had yeah. There's a picture of the Valak stuff. I think it's in the other folder. Yeah, last picture. Yeah, so like...
Yo, they had Telos?
Yeah,
Legend of Zim?
Yeah, exactly. So whoever loaded this machine kind of knew what they were up to.
Wait, that's actually wild.
Yeah. It was sick. So I was like playing like the classic stuff I just really enjoyed. Yeah, so I played that in 2017, just a handful of sets here and there. And I went back to the same machine in 2018 with the same friend, and we played again. But I brought my friend Alston along, so he can play some ITG. So he's always been aware of the machine, but it was always out of the way. And he liked playing DDR more.
Right.
Yeah, so, yeah, 2018 was just kind of like another meeting of the minds, another hanging out with the homies. We played a bunch of DDR, ate good food, and we ran around the gardens by the bay at night, took a bunch of fun friendship photos. It was just an amazing time to, like, know that I had a home in Singapore. Like, friends that I can go back to, and friends that I would happily invite into my home.
And you started from not knowing any of them. It was literally Google, like Facebook searching DDR Singapore, and then just getting connected with the right people.
Exactly. It just started off with just a simple Facebook search. And I now have like friends that I will probably be friends with forever. And the greatest part about this is like, I kind of want your insight on this. So Vincent went to Singapore in 2018, right? Or 2019?
2019.
2019.
Yeah.
What month were you there again?
I was there in April.
So Vincent was telling me how he was going to be in Singapore, and I'm like, yo, I got you. Let me introduce you to the homies in Singapore. And through the connections I made, through me reaching out on a limb, like I was able to introduce our friend Alston to Vincent. He was able to really escalate that friendship into a bunch of other people in Singapore. So I want your story on Singapore.
Okay, I mean, should I just go through all of my international stuff? I kind of wanted you to just kind of finish off what you had to say, because we're kind of getting to the end of your segments, and then I'll just kind of share, because I don't have as many international stories to share as you do.
That's true. Okay, yeah, I want you to...
I'll hold on to it.
Yeah, hold on to that. I only have like one more thing to say, I think.
Yeah.
So, I am most likely the only U.S. citizen who has played modern ITG in Malaysia.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I can comfortably say that statement. So
that is impressive, but also very specific.
It's very, very specific, and I don't think anyone will really contest it. It's also a weird flex, but a same deal with the Singapore thing. So in 2018, I went back to Malaysia, and I'm like, okay, I know Pump is popular in Malaysia. Let's look for a dance game group on Facebook. There's a large Pump It Up Facebook group for Greater Kuala Lumpur Malaysian players, and I'm like, okay, I'll join it. I'm starved for dance games. I'm meeting new people abroad. I have my really close friends who don't care about dance games at all in Malaysia.
You play Pump?
No, my other friends. No, I do play some Pump, but like my friends in Malaysia do not play dance games.
Okay.
They're just like homies. Like, love them to death. I remember my friend Helena was like, you're not taking me to play DDR. Like, I'm not going to watch you play DDR. Like, you're going alone. You're going to take a Grab as the Uber equivalent in Southeast Asia. You're like, yeah, take a Grab. I'm not going to drive you. I'm like, fine, okay. So, I posted on there, like, hey, same deal. I'm an American guy. I like dance games. My main game's DDR. But I like ITG, and of course I play Pump. And I got a fair amount of replies, again, ads. And this one dude replied, Emil, a local Malay guy. And he's like, yo, are you interested in playing ITG? We just made our own pad. Made it. Homemade pad. We made our own, me and my buddy made our own pad. And we have it at like this like gaming cafe or game center or whatever. Like LAN center, if you will.
Oh yeah, gaming cafes still work in Asia.
Yeah, true. LAN center.
Yeah.
Like where they just have like a bunch of consoles. And like, yo, if you want to play, we just literally made a pad with like Simply Love, threw on a bunch of stuff. Like I used to play a lot of ITG in Australia, so I know the deal. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'd love to play ITG with you guys. So the day I fly back into Malaysia, I check into my Airbnb, I take a Grab over to the cafe. And I'm like, arcade. I wouldn't even call it arcade. Whatever, arcade. We'll call it an arcade. It's like a random ass room with consoles and one dance game setup. So I meet these two really chill guys, super down to earth, and yeah, they have this like completely homemade pad. They have like a little button thing to act as like the menu buttons, and it was just super cool to like play Mudkip charts. I like played like Mudkip charts and like mute Sims charts in Malaysia. So the pad was in heavy beta mode, so it wasn't do great. I was getting some misses here and there. As far as I know, they have since engineered it to make it a lot better. Like, we kept in conversation, and he was super happy to have feedback from another person who's also proficient at the game. Like, am I amazing at quadding everything? No, but I know how to play. I can pass 14s and stuff like that. Like, I can try start 11s. I'm proficient. And like being able to have that sort of like super, out of the blue random interaction with these people I would have never met otherwise. Like, they literally made that pad like a week before I entered the country.
It was perfect timing.
It was almost perfect timing. And being able to like snap some selfies and photos, and like we can still keep in touch. And I know like if I ever end up back in Kuala Lumpur, I can just hit up the homies.
So wait, is this the pad?
Yeah, that's the pad.
What is this made out of?
Unsure.
They have a PVC bar, it looks like.
Yeah. I mean, the bar is pretty steady.
Or is that metal?
Yeah, it's probably... No, it's made out of plastic. Oh,
okay.
I'm not sure, actually. It's probably PVC. But again, you can clearly tell they put a lot of hard work into designing it.
I'll tell you what, it actually looks better than some people's home setups these days.
Oh, definitely. We don't want... No call-outs, no call-outs.
I'm not calling out anybody specific, but I mean, I'm proud of the people that make do with what they have and make
exactly.
the best of it, so...
Yeah, so that was like the little Malaysian side chapter, which I found to be really cool. And if anyone in the dance game community who likes ITG is going to end up in Malaysia for some reason, hit me up. I can introduce you to the community of one or two people. But they exist.
Yeah. They're there.
Yeah, they're there. But I was not able to play Pump, even though people did reach out to me to play Pump. There's one premier Pump location at the mall in the greater Kuala Lumpur area. Like, I think it's called Sunway Pyramid Mall. If you play Pump, that's the place to play. I'm sure if you join the Facebook group and make a post, someone will hang out with you, I hope. Again, that was a little over 2 years ago now, but yeah, I was able to get a warm welcome. I'm still friends with some of these people on Facebook. I will end up back in Malaysia I will end up being back in Malaysia for personal reasons within the next few years, because I just really care about a lot of people there. So yeah, I can hopefully update you guys on that journey. That'd be sick.
What's the final list then? Japan, Malaysia, Singapore.
Do we count India? I stepped on the pad.
Yeah, India.
Yeah. So India, Japan, Singapore, Malaysia, Korea. So I did play dance games in Canada when I was a kid once.
United States, man.
All right, that's North America.
That's North America.
Yeah, it was like Toronto-ish.
I played in Pacific Mall in Toronto.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, I guess 5 main countries that were like I stepped on the dance pad. Canada, sure. 6.
Yeah. Well, yeah, 5.5.
5.5.
Yeah. Should we get into my stories?
Yeah.
I don't have as many. Whenever I travel, it's primarily for tournaments. So
yeah, please. So I want you to start off on your Singapore journey, and then I want to hear about your Vietnam journey, man.
So Vietnam, like I said, probably when I was really young. I don't remember what year this was. I probably was exposed to a dance game cab for the first time. My first time kind of having recollection of playing rhythm games was when I visited Vietnam in 2013.
Yeah.
And I had been playing DDR and stuff at this time. Like, I had a Cobalt Flux where I was playing
Nice.
Open ITG at home, playing customs and trying my best to play stamina or whatever. So when I went to Vietnam, it was mostly like a family trip, and the thing with family trips growing up is that it's kind of hard to detach yourself away from the family.
You're never detached. There's no way to detach.
So the only way that you can play dance games is if you happen to go to like a really good mall that they can shop in that also has an arcade. They leave you there for like an hour and then pick you up after. So the best I could do is we never actually ran into DDR or Pump It Up. So the closest thing I saw was this like Magic Box cab which is like Chinese offshoot Ubeat, which I played like a couple rounds of, but I mean it was bad.
Yeah.
Overall, but that was my only experience in 2013.
Yeah, 2013. Yeah.
Yeah. As far as international experiences goes, once 2015 hit, I was actually more in tune with the community a little bit. I hadn't met many people in person, so it was mostly just like adding people with lots of mutual friends on Facebook.
That's how I came to be.
Yeah. But the crazy thing is, like, it starts with having, like, 10, 12 mutual friends. Yeah. But then, like, as you, like, kind of connect more and more...
How many mutuals do we
have?
How
many mutuals do we have?
Hold up.
Are you able to tell me?
My phone. 127, which is, like...
I think it's sizable,
It's sizable, but, like, there are people with more. I get it.
I mean, Kyle Dobe adds everybody.
Yeah.
Let's see how many friends I have with Kyle Dobe, because Kyle Dobe is kind of, like, the ITG representative of the community, and he sends... friend requests to everybody.
Yeah, so I'm in the community. I know a lot of people, but like sometimes I still feel like I'm a bit adjacent because I'm not like as involved.
Yeah,
especially within the more recent years.
I have 415 mutual friends with Kyle Dobe, and I know that's actually a relatively small number too compared to other people who accept more friend requests and don't filter.
415, dude. Yeah. Holy shit.
So let's go back. The year 2015. I'm mostly communicating on Facebook. So I used to be going to fighting game tournaments to play Street Fighter.
Yeah.
There's a big regional tournament. Well, I guess it's actually a national Combo Breaker that happens in Chicago.
Oh, I was gonna say like we're Combo Breaker. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm aware of Combo Breaker.
I went to Combo Breaker in 2015, and we definitely knew about Round 1 Stratford. Because that's like a legendary thing. Like if you're
it was the first Round 1
in that region.
No, in like outside of California.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I live in Omaha, Nebraska. Like you have to drive 7 hours to get to this Round 1, and I'm just like here now.
Yeah.
So some of my friends in the fighting game community also play rhythm games, so we all took it. I mean, I guess if you play fighting games, Round 1 has fighting games as well. We went out to Round 1, and it actually happens to be that Girls Apocalypse was happening at the same time.
Oh, it was a coincidence?
Yeah, it was not. I don't think it was planned. Yeah, Girls Apocalypse was actually happening at the same time. So I actually have like a wild group picture of kind of like a meshing of my communities where like I'm in front here. A lot of the friends around me are actually like Nebraska rhythm game / FGC friends, but then like Shizuka was actually Shizuka was actually in town.
That's
like,
funny. Yeah,
from Japan.
You met her before me.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 2015.
I met her in June 2015.
To be fair, I also did not interact with her, so
you were in her immediate presence, I guess.
Whether she remembers me might be a question, but if I wanted like a good conversation starter, this picture would be a really good one. But yeah, I also remember ATV Alessandro he was actually the person to initiate conversation with me. He's like, "Hey, you're Vincent, right?" Like
he did that for me too.
I think we're friends on Facebook. I'm like, "Oh yeah, nice to meet you, man." And then that happened like several other times. So this beat was kind of the first time I met some of these people in person for the first time, and also coincidentally it was one of my first, I guess, international experiences with Shizuka being there as well.
Cool.
Yeah. Now that after that experience happened, I feel like that was kind of like kickstarting my way into interacting with more and more of the community, to where I went back to Vietnam in 2016, and at this point I wanted to make an active effort to seek out these communities rather than just like passive, hanging out with family, maybe going to a mall just to play a couple rounds. Like, I not only wanted to play games, but I wanted to see who in Vietnam was playing. And Vietnam does not have DDR just because of the complications of having official DDR in different countries. So Pump It Up was the main game. I did re-encounter Magic Box. They never got U-Beat for the same level of complication that DDR has. But I did meet up with one player named Phung, who I did not see the next time I went back to Vietnam. But I think there's a Vietnam Pump It Up players group, and I just reached out. Same thing that you did. It's like, hey, I'm a Vietnamese American. Just want to know like where do people play, and
please hang out with me.
Yeah. Phung left a comment, and we added each other, got in touch, and then I still was hanging out with family. I think my sister was with me, so I couldn't spend too much time there. But yeah, we met up for a few games. Got a picture together.
Nice.
Yeah. But as far as 2016, that was my only quick interaction playing dance games.
By the way, I think everyone loves the classic Vincent selfie.
Is this a classic selfie?
I mean, I wouldn't even call it a Vincent selfie in general, and it's classic because like you are known to just take a nice selfie with people.
I take a lot of selfies because even though
for amazing sentimental value.
Yeah,
I love it.
Because even though I know that the best pictures are ones like you prop it up somewhere or ask someone to take it, like it's so much easier just to you don't have to ask anybody. Just pull out your phone. Like my arm's long enough for two people for sure. So we'll just take a picture, pump it up in the background.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I showed up there. I was just so happy. The second that I showed up there, I saw the pads opened up. Which is always a really good sign, right? Because we've talked about, like, what is it, the Yukon machine?
Oh, yeah. So we would try to sneak open them up when people weren't there, and we got in trouble a handful of times, yeah. Like,
we've all played on bad pads, and we all wish it could be modded, and it never happened. So for me to go to this arcade in Saigon, and then, like, the first thing I see is that the pads are opened up. Like, that's just a huge sign. The same way that you saw 8 on the Break had customs.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a huge sign that there's some level of care that
that
goes into these machines, and it says a lot about the community.
Yeah, same thing in Singapore. I was there for pad work, too. Just like, arrows messing up. Let's open it up. Let's tackle on this problem.
Yeah, and then I guess the biggest part of my stories is I kind of had like a gap similar to you did after college, but what mine was I graduated college, had my
2018,
first,
right?
2018, had my first software engineering job at a company that could have been better. I wasn't super into it, but my friend offered me. Well, he didn't offer me the job. He said, my company's interviewing a lot of people. Like you should apply here. Like it's awesome. So I interview, get the job. But then I was stuck with this difficult decision because they didn't have a lot of options for start dates. So it's just either like, okay, yeah, you can work. We have a start date that's like 2 weeks from now. And we have a start date that's 2 months from now. Which is really bizarre.
I remember you told me about this.
I've never been struck with that option before. No. There was an option actually in the middle that they offered me, which I picked for like 1 month off. But then they had to revoke it. They said, oh yeah, this start date is actually only for summer interns.
Okay.
That are starting on that day. So we have to revoke that day. So you can either take the one that's in 2 weeks or in 2 months. I'm like, I mean, I guess if I can not work for 2 months and still be guaranteed a job at the end of it.
That's awesome.
Like, why would I not do that? So I took the start date 2 months later. And instead of continuing to work at my job for 2 months, I just quit on the spot. So I took a brief, I don't want to call it, unemployment.
Sabbatical?
Sabbatical is probably the best word.
I think it's a more formal term, but like you decided to take the reins on your life and enjoy your life.
Yeah.
Your life isn't fully dictated by your job, by the way.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to it. Yeah. A lot more.
It's a pretty rare situation to be able to get 2 months off and know that there's something at the end waiting for you. So I took the opportunity I made a point to travel to a different city almost every single weekend. So it started off with visiting New York City to attend Yargspa. Oh my god. That tournament I could say a lot about, but that experience for the weekend was just amazing. I went to New York City one weekend. The very next weekend, I attended my first Rumble in the Prairie with Rip 11.
I went to Rip 11. I went to 7.5.
You went to 7.5?
Not 9.5. Sorry,
9.5. Okay.
9.5.
Goodness gracious, because that's
9.5. Sorry. 9.5. My bad.
Yeah. I went to Boston for a weekend, which I'll circle back here in a second. But I also attended the Big Deal 3 the weekend after. So that's every single weekend in March. I went to New York City, Boston, Champaign, Illinois, Dallas, and then I actually went from Dallas, took a flight out in Houston because I have family in Houston.
Yeah.
So I went to 5 cities in the span of 4 weeks, which was awesome. But going back
You're like some Hiten level type shit right there.
Yeah, going back to Boston, and just in terms of like the magic that happens, like you meeting Brosoni and stuff. Like there's just like crazy things that occur. Hiten was, I was in Boston in 2018 of March, and Hiten was showing me around the city.
He was also staying with me in this apartment, by the way.
In this very apartment.
2
years ago, and Hiten was showing me around and said, there's actually an SMX pad.
Machine, Dedicab.
There's a SMX like, dedicated machine running
Simply
Love at MIT. And I was like, dude, I would love to tell my mom I went to MIT. Like, this is the only time I'll be able to tell my mom.
And, I did something proficient at MIT.
Yeah, I went to MIT. I went there.
I took him.
Yeah, so it's in this. What is this room?
So there's this one building that had like a cafe. I think it was like I forgot what the building's name is, but like it's on the campus itself.
The Pritchett
Maybe
dining?
it was a dining hall,
yeah.
And then there's like a cafe on top. Unsure, did not go to MIT. But I think, apparently this was like one of the only places where they can put this machine on campus. Again, I'm not here to talk out logistics. But yeah, it was just in this random cafe that not a lot of people entered.
Yeah. But there's like a video of Hiten and I playing this cab, and it's actually modded pretty well. Like, I'm playing pretty comfortably on it. But one of the songs I play, I'm playing on socks. I step pretty lightly, and on the down arrow, I just hear like a crack, which like sends me in full panic because like it's my only time playing this machine. I'm breaking things now. There's just like this crack that goes all the way down the vertical center of the panel, and of course I figured this is probably like funny. It's like it's a good story to post on Facebook that I went to MIT and broke the pads there.
Broke the pads.
I broke the pads. I broke a panel there, so I ripped a little too crispy.
Yeah, you ripped a little too crispy.
I post it, and then it turns out one of my friends from high school, who was also my prom date from junior year of high school, was actually on MIT campus, like 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
And had just finished
walking
10 minutes away, and had just finished like testing for the day. And she's like, "Yeah, I'm just like right around the corner." And so it was actually like we ended up all hanging out, like me, my friend from high school, Rachel, and Hiten, like walked around Boston and got ice cream.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah. I was happy to be there to like experience the wonder of it all.
Yeah, I know that's not like an international dance game story, but it's like the magic that confides around dance games and like social settings and the things that bring us together.
And I feel like a lot of us have similar sort of stories, not that specific. Where like you are in a certain area, you see someone at the arcade, or even you run into people you would have never really known to ever run into again. And dance games happen to be our catalyst for that. More often than once.
Yeah.
For sure. Non-zero.
Yeah. That was something fun that happened during my unemployment stint. That was all in March. Was all domestic trips.
Yeah.
In April, my family decides to go back. My family, not including my sister.
Yeah.
But we all decided to take a trip to Vietnam, where my family's from. And this is a trip I only make every 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
So it's always really special whenever I'm able to come out there and visit family out there. But something cool as well is that it's like, dude, we're already in Vietnam. Like, Singapore is right across.
Yeah, it's a very normal trip.
Yeah, it may as well be across the street.
Yeah.
So we actually went to Singapore. It was me, my mom, and my dad.
Yeah.
And so they were originally only planning on staying there for 2 days. It's just like get into the city, go shopping, see the biggest tourist sites possible.
Marina Bay Sands.
But the thing about visiting your family back in the motherland is like they're just doing it to see and talk to other relatives.
Yeah.
They're doing it to see old friends. Like, these aren't my friends.
It's sentimental for them.
It's sentimental for them.
Yeah.
So my mom and dad were really cool about it. They're like, you want to just like stay in Singapore a few more days?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So they actually left Singapore before me. I stayed there for an additional 3 days. They just booked the hotel for a few more days.
It's not like a similar story. I have a sadder story. So,
Oh.
So when I went back to India in 2005, summer entering 7th grade, my family, I didn't know my parents were only staying there for 2 weeks because they only had 2 weeks PTO. So they left me and my brother in India for the rest of the summer without telling us. I mean, they told us when they left. Like, we had a sit-down talk. But it was sick because I got to stay there longer and look at the DDR machine and not play it and play. Yeah, again, play Third Strike. But
wait, I did the opposite at the end of my trip. I had to start my new job that I said was starting 2 months later. I had to start my new job, so I actually had to leave Vietnam first. And my parents stayed there for another week. So it was the other way around.
Well, it was really sweet.
Yeah, I had to start my new job. I actually only had 1 full day back in the United States before I started my new job. So I was very jet lagged on my first week of work. Like during the classes, I was like standing up instead of sitting down. I told my instructors like, dude, if you want me to stay awake, like I need to be standing. I need to be standing.
Like I'm jet lagged, you know, hanging in there.
But yeah, so the Singapore trip initially started as like a 2-day thing, and turned into a 4.5-day thing.
That's awesome.
So what I did was while my parents are around, I just stuck around with them. I did all the normal touristy stuff, saw all the big malls. Singapore has a lot of malls.
It's a lot of every neighborhood has a mall.
Yeah. You actually define your relative location almost like by the malls
exactly.
you're nearby.
Like, you're near Bugis.
You're near Suntec.
Yeah, you're near Suntec. You're near exactly.
Yeah. I did all the touristy stuff for 2 days, knowing that when I'm by myself and my parents leave, that I'll be playing arcade games the whole time. Especially because for some Voltex, you get access to an unlock system that's not available in the US. So I just needed to grind at the arcade to get as many unlocks as I can, because I can unlock things literally 5 times, maybe more times faster.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then so I actually end up being able to link up with Alson through you. Alson is the person who I DM'd, and he told me specifically what arcades to go to, and he did mention Bugis Plus, but I think this was not an arcade at the time that you went there, but Suntec Mall had...
Yeah, so they had that machine... Yeah, that was a more recent addition.
Yeah. So I went to Suntec Mall, and they have an arcade called Cowplay Calmu.
Cute.
Yeah, which is primarily what I went to. And this is like just like the most impressive arcade I've personally been to. Like, I'm primarily DDR and some Voltex player, and they had 4, beautiful Voltex machines just like in a row. And also at this time, Voltex Vivid Wave had just come out.
Just dropped?
Yeah, but the cabs had not made their way into the United States yet.
Got it.
So I'm DMing my friends like, yeah, I'm playing Vivid Wave.
That's sick.
Like before everybody else. And then like Dance Rush, You Beat Proper, not Magic Box.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Drum
Shout out to
Mania.
Magic Box. I saw a few in Malaysia, by the way.
Yeah, like 2DX, DDR, Pump. Like they had it all. They even had like this off-brand like Pump It Up game that I still don't know what it is. But yeah, like
wild.
The primary people I played with was also, as you said, also met Raymond.
Very similar crew.
Yeah, Afandi and Friedrich as well. Yeah. Got to play with them. And then, I guess amazingly enough is... Oh, this is one of my favorite stories, actually. So, the guy in left of center here is Josh, who I met because, like, just during the day, I just finished eating lunch, had nothing to do.
Yeah.
Went to the arcade to play some Voltex. And I noticed that there's someone playing next to me who's very good. It was Josh that was playing, but on the screen, the EMU's profile said KBH.TX. KBH is keyboard head.
Yeah.
He's a player from Texas.
Yeah.
And it's like, what in the world? Like, and I was just that big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I know what KBH looks like. I know who he is. I know he is definitely not in Singapore right now.
Yeah.
And it turns out that Josh he was blasting unlocks for someone
of course
in the US. And
that's
then
how you do it.
Dude, like, it's not like I planned to
Yeah.
meet him. It's just we went to the same arcade, played on the cabs right next to each other, and then had KVH in America as a mutual connection.
It's serendipitous.
Yeah.
It's serendipitous.
Yeah, and then, like, for the next couple days, we played sets together, and we were able to even get, like, a 4-man set going, which is awesome. By the way, if you ever get a chance to play Semboltex with all 4 machines linked, I definitely recommend it.
I've seen it happen. So, actually, I have a Sound Voltex-ish story,
yeah.
too. So, again, I know with COVID and everything, I was in Japan in 2020. That was a thing in my life throughout my entire nature, personal reasons. So, I had a day to myself. I had my friends in Japan, but it was supposed to be a secret that I was there. I wasn't trying to flaunt the fact that I was there. Again, wild times in my life. I went to one of the classic game centers in Shinjuku where I used to generally hang out with friends. I walk up, and everyone thinks I'm in India at this point in time. So I see my friend Grant playing Sound Voltex, and I'm like, "Hey, Grant." He's like, "What the fuck? What are you doing here?" And what's funny is like I messaged him as I was walking up the stairs. So I'm like, "Hey, are you gonna be around Tokyo proper? Like, I'm randomly in Japan. You're the only one I'm telling. Blah blah blah." And he's like, I see him playing Sound Voltex. He finished his set. I turn around. He sees me. Then he reads his Facebook message. And it was like, "Hey." He's like, "Wait, aren't you? How are you not in India right now?" I'm like, "Hey." But I always really enjoyed seeing. He was playing again. This links because there are 4 people playing Sound Voltex in a row.
Yeah,
and it was sick.
Yeah, but like I think Alston did this exact same thing for you as he did for me, which is just the wholesome Alston energy of rounding up a small local community together to play some sets. We got tired and sweaty, and then went up the stairs to the food court, which has amazing. You had to eat the iconic Singaporean chicken and rice, which is a classic, and then played more sets before going about our separate ways and getting our pictures together and stuff like that.
That's great.
But yeah, like I still think the Sound Voltex story is so incredible. I think the Singapore community in particular has so many strong players that I was in the arcade. It doesn't matter what game I was playing, like Voltex, DDR, Pump. There was always at least one person in this arcade that was better than me at any point in time. And I consider myself a pretty like intermediate to like advanced player in all these games, and there was always someone better. And like to be able to invigorate a friendship just out of like convenience of just standing next to the right person at a very weird time was like very mind-blowing to me. And like,
and these are the stories I personally live for when I not even go abroad, just domestically. And like, these are the stories you take away. These are the stories you tell your mom, and she's just, "Oh, that's nice." These are stories like
Josh actually, I guess he might be like the premier like Sound Voltex blaster for people in the States.
He's the rep.
He's the unlock guy. Yeah, like we had mutuals with like Mimmins and another. He was friends with someone from the Nebraska community, which is just like, how does this happen? That it's just like the smallest world encounter on the other side of the world.
It's what these games do. When you're in such a niche community, such a niche hobby, we all find ourselves in one way or another. Yeah. And that actually reminds me of something else I didn't entirely mention before. In relation to Singapore and in relation to Alston in particular, being able to gather people up. So Alston, being Singaporean Chinese, he's been able to do a lot of like traveling within like Asia. So he's been to like Taipei multiple times. He knows players in Hong Kong. So it's also like, I want to let it be known that like everywhere there's like modern DDR, there is like a small local community there. Do we know that? Of course, but like, do any of us really know these people? No, not really. And I think it's cool that like I now have a gateway to, if I'm ever in Hong Kong, I can be like, "Yo, Alston, like, you let some homies know I'm going to be around." Like,
2 degrees. 2
degrees of separation, like, especially in the rhythm game community. Like, yo, I'm just trying to pop a set, bro. Just trying to pop a set. In Taipei, just trying to pop a set. And like, will there be a language barrier for some of these people? Yeah, well, yeah, but
we played the same game.
We played the same game. I'm like, again, you finna trying to pop a set. You finna trying to get it crispy, and I'm like, yeah.
But also, a lot of people do know English,
of course,
to some functional.
Yeah, to some functional way, but like, yeah, of course.
Which makes me feel bad because I'm not learning their language.
Yeah,
it's tough. It's funny.
I mean, in Malaysia, they like everyone speaks English, so it's perfect.
Yeah, Singapore, everybody
it's English, their national language, so
yeah. So at some point, this trip finishes, which is sad. I think like the last thing I actually did in Singapore was I still played Sound Voltex. I played Sound Voltex all the way up to the point where I had to get on a bus to get back to the airport.
Amazing.
Yeah. At some point, I get back to Vietnam, and at this point, I go back on the Vietnam Pump It Up Players Facebook. Same post again. I'm an American coming to visit, and I do get to meet more of the community this time. I love this group picture. So before the group picture, this is actually the arcade I played in. It's called Now Zone, which is in Saigon, or like Ho Chi Minh City, in District 1. It was super cool. The hotel I stayed at was only like a 5-minute grab. It was only like a 5-minute grab ride away from this.
Oh, so you took their grabs in Vietnam too?
They have grabs in Vietnam.
Sick.
where you use grab, did they have it for motorcycles?
Yes.
Yes. So they keep the spare helmet on,
Yep.
and also the grab ride. If it's only like, 5 to 10 minutes, cost me like a literal like $1.50.
Yeah, it's cheap. Again, I paid Uber in India. I paid for Uber XL Premium, whatever the Uber Plus. I forgot what it's called. It's been so long since I've taken Uber. Paid for the nicer Uber. 30-minute ride to the airport. It was like $3.
Yeah.
And this man like had to navigate through cows, people, motorcycles, animals, other side of the street to get me to my destination. He deserved $1 million.
Yeah, I have videos of me riding grabs.
Yeah,
of just like
it's sick.
Instagram stories.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah. But dude, these so the Pump It Up community in Vietnam, they have a group called Boss PIU Vietnam, which they are
stand for
boss. Probably just like the word like being a boss of something.
BOSS.
Yeah, BOSS. Boss PIU VN, which they are a huge content creator community for not just Vietnam but for the international community.
Really?
Like whenever new unlocks come out, they are one of the first groups to put up chart videos on Pump It Up. Yeah.
So they're those people.
Yeah, like the UE scene of Pump It Up.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and also like incredible players. So let's actually go to this group picture. Second from the left is Dr. Box, who is one of the best players in Vietnam. At the time we took this picture, I think he was 16 years old. One of the best players.
I'm not that surprised, but still.
In Vietnam, yeah. He was like casually...
He just doesn't look 16.
He was casually AAAing like S21s, S22s while I was there.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then to the right of him is Gung, or Dr. Zhao. Dr. Zhao. Those were the primary two that I spoke to at the time there, and they kind of lead up some of the community efforts there and also maintain the machine. They have access to hook up a capture card to the machine.
Awesome.
Yeah, and they're running streams off of it. Actually, while I was visiting there, Dr. Box was actually organizing sets with Zello from Philip from Texas.
Yeah.
There was a 12-hour time difference. So, but Zello has his own cab.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Box would wake up early to play at 10 a.m. So that way Zello could play at 10 p.m. And then they would do online matching together.
That's amazing.
Yeah, just insane. Also, like, more serendipitous moments. The person in this picture to my left, on the right here, is his name is also Vincent.
Oh.
And he's actually from SoCal. So he knew Alex. We actually talked about this recently, like.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Because they were like over at Seth's house trying to unlock brain power.
Yeah, he was there while you were hanging out. She was hanging out with the other Vincent, which is you.
Yes.
While the other Vincent was back at her home.
Some trading spaces type. Stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I don't know, like this is
other
just
Vietnamese Vincent.
It was such an overwhelming experience, like seeing their capture card set up, like how talented the community was there, like them all coming together and playing together and supporting each other, but then also to have like the US connection here as well.
Yeah.
And I did feel comfortable speaking Vietnamese with them.
That's
lot,
amazing.
which is awesome.
That means, like, to me, hearing the story means so much. Like, the concept of being able to connect your motherland to the hobby that has given you the most freedom in the world is so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. And I'm as your friend, I'm deeply happy you've had these memories and these experiences.
And dude, like, I want other people to have this experience
exactly,
too. Like,
exactly.
I actually talked to Tuấn. Tuấn is a DDR player from Seattle, but he also plays Pump It Up.
Yeah.
I was like, Tuấn, like, we gotta round up, like,
the Vietnamese.
We gotta round up the Vietnamese players. Like, we gotta round up, I'm sorry, we gotta John Chun and like Caitlin and me and you. Like, we just need to get like a Viet squad up, and we gotta go to like Vietnam Pump Festival.
Yeah.
And we
there's
like,
a Pump Fest?
Yeah, they have VPF.
That's amazing.
Like the same way we had USPF. Say what you want about that, but like, Vietnam Pump Fest, like, they do that annually, pandemics aside.
Yeah.
So, that was my experience with Pump It Up. It was amazing that I was only like a 5-minute grab away. And like,
love it.
Yeah, the machines were so good. Yeah. I mean, I think I feel like this is a wrap up of my international experiences playing Vietnam. It's crazy that I went to Vietnam 3 times, and it was cool to see the experiences ramp up a bit.
Yeah.
From knockoff U-Beat to one set of pump to like just meeting the community at
Exactly.
large.
And it can only grow from there when, like you said, you can introduce brand new people to make this pilgrimage, if you will.
Yeah. And big thanks to Feng and Dr. Box and Zhao for connecting me with their local community and not making fun of my Dingvit, like sounding like a VitQ, which is like a foreigner.
Oh, is that what they call you guys?
VitQ, yeah.
Is there like a specific terminology for like that Vietnamese people have for like Vietnamese people from abroad?
Yeah, like the foreigner. The term is VitQ.
VQ?
Yeah.
So there's ABCD for me.
American born
confused Daisy.
Confused Daisy.
Yeah. American born confused Daisy. Yeah. So I used to get called that all the time, especially when I went back in like 2005. All my cousins, they would just tease me. I'm like, yeah, I'm from Connecticut, man. Like, what else do you want from me? Like, my parents worked really hard to sustain our lives. I learned the language from home, but I'm gonna have this deep New England accent.
Yeah. Yeah, like, you know, my Vietnamese, you can tell for sure, is like, I was born in America, and I'm speaking Vietnamese in an American context, but
exactly.
I guess my Vietnamese was good enough for them, so.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of like the wrap up of my international experiences. I don't know if we had to like, I feel like we could talk so much more about domestic experiences, which is probably just not even worth talking about. Oh, there's a whole plethora.
I've been playing this game for 15 years.
We both have. 15, 16.
2005.
Yeah.
Into 2005 and 2006.
16 this year.
Yeah, just about 16 years. And the fact that I remember these milestones, like, oh, I've been playing DDR for 5 years. This is wild. 10 years, like the decade for most people is like that, you know, that time where you freak out and like, wow, this game's here to stay, huh?
Yeah.
and now we're reaching into the 15th to 16th, and it will be at the 20. It will be at the 25, even if we're not like playing the game. Like, it's about the people you meet along the way.
It's the friends we make along the way.
The friends you make along the way. It's not about it's not about the
destination. It's about the journey.
Yeah, it's not about the destination. It's all about the journey.
Yeah. But I mean, like, it's like what I said about like kids moving on to like Halo 3, right? Like we kept playing DDR. Like there's definitely some year, I don't know what year it is, but there's definitely some point where you know that this is going to be a part of your life until the day you die.
Exactly. And you can't remove it. You can't divorce it from your memories either.
I don't know where that like switch is like flipped. Yeah. But probably definitely like 5 or 6 years.
So there's a thing with friendships that they say if you're friends with someone for 7 years, there's like a way higher statistic probability that they'll be your friend for life. So I guess you can kind of like attribute that to any form of hobby or what have you.
Yeah. We'll go to each other's funerals. For sure. Friends to life and death.
Hell yeah. Oh man. Yeah, there's a bunch of random side things I have in my head about playing DDR in Japan. Not only have I played Japan, like DDR in Tokyo, Osaka, Kyoto, Hiroshima, Fukuoka.
As far as US experiences, I feel like you almost have to reserve an episode per story.
Episode per state,
yeah.
Per state, man. Like, again, you're here in Boston, Massachusetts proper, in my brownstone apartment. Like,
should we talk about me being here?
Yeah, like, so what's up with Vincent being on the East Coast during the Panini?
By the time this video is uploaded, I'm back in Nebraska. Let that be known. But I mean, it was back to the experience of I had 2 months of unemployment. Visited Hiten, who was living in Boston at the time.
Still am.
Fell in love with the city. Like, the architecture is beautiful. I love the culture diversity here. A lot of tech jobs out here. And then, COVID hits. My company is forced to close their offices for safety reasons and health reasons. And I figure, I mean, I'm at home for a whole year at this point.
Yeah.
Why not take advantage of this remote work opportunity to shake it up? So, once again, friends you make through the community over the years. Tommy Reyes, one of my closest friends, hot take, graciously lets me live with him for 3 months, which is like amazing. And I didn't get to experience Boston in the same capacity that I wanted to, but just the opportunity to live in Boston for that extended period of time at all.
Yeah.
Was only made possible through playing this game, and it's been a really good experience for me to be out here.
Yeah, and he also drove, by the way.
I drove 24 hours.
Yeah, from Nebraska
in 2 days
to make it a more conscientious decision to be in this area. It wasn't.
I just had a lot of things to bring too.
That too. It's a more pragmatic way to really get here, and then,
also to have a car in Boston.
True. And also, you came at the start of 2021.
New Year's Day was driving.
Yeah.
New Year's Eve, went to bed. Yeah. January 1st, drove and got there on January 2nd.
Yeah.
So.
Also, this talk means a lot from a hobby standpoint, but also a personal standpoint. As we've clearly described, Vincent and I have had this friendship since the flesh since 2018, but
online for a year before,
but it's just felt like a lifetime. I feel like we went to undergrad together. I can imagine, I can fabricate young Hiten memories with young Vincent memories. It's so easy to have that be a thing.
Yeah, our friendship is relatively new in the grand scheme of things.
Exactly.
It just doesn't feel that way.
Yeah, not at all. So what's really awesome is I've been so happy to have another one of my really close friends in the vicinity, in the area, someone I deeply care about, someone I can, reach out to, well, as we all keep our, COVID bubbles of people we are comfortable seeing with all that fun stuff. It's been really worthwhile to have you around.
Test twice a week.
I test twice a week.
Yeah.
Biotech. But, yeah, it's been incredibly awesome to have you around. You're always welcome to our city, my apartment in particular. There's always space for you. And
I don't know if there's always space.
There's always space. We will always make
space.
Hey, again, yeah, this is my apartment. This is pretty much the living room area. So behind me is my TV, stuff like that. In front of me is kitchen, closet, bathroom. There's more space, of course, and then my desk is right here.
I think a quarter of the apartment is in view.
Yeah, about a quarter-ish.
About a quarter, yeah.
Hey man, but you gotta make do.
Yeah, I don't know what. I always try to have some sort of takeaways or closing thoughts at the end.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's if cultivating these kinds of connections and spontaneous moments and connections around the world or traveling are things that are important to you. I think it's important for you yourself to share your stories.
Yeah.
And put yourself out there. I know some people have this view of social media being this thing where it's if you post about yourself on Instagram or post about yourself on Twitter, it's self-centered and you only care about yourself kind of thing. But for me, it's more about sharing with the world the things that you're passionate about.
Exactly.
And letting other people know about it. And if we didn't both have Instagram and Facebook and we're open to sharing our life experiences, then we probably would have never connected. You
yield a net positive overall.
Yeah.
Despite whatever people may say, maybe some over-judgmental faces, we're all guilty of having, these side thoughts of individuals. It's human nature. But, again, we're both very open-minded people. We're people who will travel for what we love and are open to meeting individuals who share our interests and share our hobbies. And I really want to have this video to, not only showcase us doing that, but, being able to demonstrate that, anyone can have this life. Through any hobby you have, not only dance games, not only video games, any hobby. We are just so fortunate to have fallen into a game that can connect us on a global scale. Because I cannot imagine my life without having that outreach right now.
Yeah,
my life is so different compared to
all for the better.
All for the better. All for the better. And I don't care if someone's jealous that I spent my hard-earned money going to.
Hey, money is meant to be spent.
Money is meant to be spent. Yeah, it's
if you have it.
Yeah, just make pragmatic decisions. Come up with your game plan, and not only that, now you have resources. If you reach out to me, if you reach out to Vincent, if you have questions about any of the countries we do talk about, or any tips, we're happy. We are at a point in the community where we're small enough to reaching out one-on-one isn't a big deal.
Yeah,
not at all.
I love getting DMs.
Yeah, again,
generally,
he loves getting DMs. He loves sliding into DMs.
I do both.
Professional.
It's a two-way thing, man.
It's a two-way. Yeah, I kind of chill.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember when the pandemic was first starting and arcades were closing, I know I had friends in the local community that were like, oh yeah, I'll just keep talking to you while you stretch.
Yeah,
it's fine. Yeah, I mean, I had friends in the local community who were like, you know, these arcades are closing, or like temporarily closing. You know, these discords are really inactive. Like I don't know what's gonna happen to this community at this point. And like, I guess I kind of understand that if you're like a newer player, but I've been so ingrained in these communities and communicating with these people and making friends along the way that like I could lose function of my legs tomorrow.
Yeah.
And this community would still be something I'm a part of. Exactly. For the rest of my life. Like, yeah, I love ITG Tech. I love ITG Stamina and stuff like that. But ultimately, I've just really appreciated the connections I've made out of it and the experiences I've gotten out of it. So yeah, I could lose motor control of my legs and still be somewhat happy.
Yeah, there's a lot to look back on. I mean, that's more of an extreme case, of course, but
yeah,
it just goes to show, even like the toughest of times, like it's not something that'll leave your life at all.
Yeah, just put yourself out there, man. Like, and also at no point has anybody ever cared that you're not, you know, a top player in the U.S. There's never been a problem for making friends. You know, you don't have to be a top player to like post on the internet. You don't have to be a top player to like be sociable and make friends.
Yeah.
Like, just put yourself out there, like regardless of what you play or how you play it.
I am a professional, not top player.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey man, you said it yourself. I mean, so. Yeah, I think that's my takeaway, right? I don't know if you have other morals. Put yourself out there. Put yourself out there,
and this comes from like not only a game perspective, from like a life perspective. Like a lot of people have that notion, that inner monologue that we're taught in movies and cinema, media, that like you peak in life. Oh, whether it be high school, that's fucking sad, man. People who have that. Anyway, college, or when you're 21, when you're 25, when you're 30, and then things have to go downhill at some point in time. That is just such an archaic way to kind of like live your life. After college, my life started after college.
Same.
Really, I was able to travel the world. I was able to get further engaged in my hobbies, build out new skills, and that's a non-stop journey. It just keeps going. I really don't know what else to say. Like, I feel like I haven't peaked at all. I feel like there's way too much for me to learn, way too much for me to still grow into.
More content to make.
And more content to make. Friendship content.
All right, this is the obligatory ending, which people are always unprepared for. I want to know what shoutouts you have.
Okay.
Thanks to give.
Let's, for the sake of the episode, we can start off with the international people. Shizuka, BROSONI, Alson, Emil, Rattery, that one time. Probably don't remember me. It's fine. But we kicked the set of 14s. It was dope. And then more locally, my boys, Simon and Scott, they were my closest dance game friends, originally dance game friends. We all still play every so often, but like our friendship has stemmed a lot more from human to human, being first generation, you know, kids in this world, going through the fights of life together. And again, these are people I hold near and dear in my heart, and it all started through dance games. We are in a group chat called The Dude Ranch. The Dude Ranch with Suji and Matt LaGreca, and Vincent and I. So shout outs to that chat. Shout outs to the chat. Again, like, that's it immediately.
Yeah, I think my shout outs are also, for the sake of being episode specific, my primary thanks are for Josh and Alson, my main connections in Singapore. And then I thanked them earlier, but Fung and Dr. Zhao and... Did I say Dr. Zhao? I think am I just throwing the word doctor into names and unwillingly?
Just go with it.
Zhao. Zhao. And Dr. Box.
Yeah.
Who are my main connections for Pump It Up.
Yeah.
In Vietnam. Also for you, for connecting me to Alson. Also, Alson Fan Club.
Oh, yeah. The Alson Fan Club is actually me, Vincent, Alex Sanchez, and Pattianne Stone.
Yeah.
We have all met Alson on individual fronts. And
incredible.
It's incredible. I mean,
Alex is actually in Japan.
Yeah, Alex met him in Japan.
Yeah.
Me, Patty, Vincent met him in Singapore. But Again, shout outs to the Austin Fan Club. Hashtag Austin Fan Club.
Yeah. Thanks to Hiten for connecting me to Austin. And then to Tommy for letting me, stay with him for 3 months. And then, which is the only reason that this interview was, not even an interview, conversation.
Conversation, yeah.
Conversation was able to happen.
Boba talk.
In person, yeah. Oh yeah, we got Boba.
Yeah.
Shoutouts to Chaos. Yeah. Shoutouts to Chaos.
Yeah, so I live down the street from a Kung Fu tea. For your connoisseurs out there, I understand that Kung Fu tea is the Walmart of bubble teas in your eyes. Some people have that notion.
It's reliable, man.
It's reliable, but here's the thing, like, it works. There's a VV, I have a gong show. Again, Boston is like bubble tea central, but for the sake of going on a nice little walk before recording this, got some KFT. Yeah. Oh, what did you drink, by the way?
I got a black, honey black tea with boba and crystal boba.
So, yeah, and I got a honey tea with crystal boba and regular boba.
Iconic. We had to have some sort of, Asian American representation going on in the scene while shooting this, so yeah. Yeah, thanks Hiten again for this conversation.
Dude, thank you.
Yeah.
This is the first time I finally had an outlet to in-depth talk about one of the most influential games of my entire life.
Yeah.
It's heavy.
In a way that's not nerding out about the game mechanics.
Yeah.
And life bars and timing windows. And,
true.
Just but about the wholesome, the holistic ways that it's improved our lives.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, guys, this was Dance Games Daily. Thank you for supporting the Friday episodes. Thank you, Hiten, for being on. And I'll catch you guys next week.
Alright. Thanks for watching. Take care, everyone. Peace.